Swimming like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. When it's sink or swim, only option is to win. In the murky water, not a thought of giving in. Welcome to the shrimp tank. Wanna put it all together, this is big things. Doing big things. We ain't in the same league. Running a campaign, Roadie 2016. Like a phone to die, put me in charge. I'm a general from the front, I'ma lead the charge. Like a federal, fell on my lap never. Going hard as ever.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode here on the Shrimp Tank, powered by Celsius Beverage. This is the show where street smarts and book smarts collide, and we get to partner with the Florida Atlantic University, their entrepreneurship program here that is doing some amazing things. We got Kevin Cox, my co-host, which is doing some phenomenal things with his outfit today. He is now matching his hat to his suit jacket, so I got to give him some compliments. Kevin, what's going on there for you?
Oh, all kinds of things. I just got back in town from the Southern Management Association conference where I was presenting some research related to entrepreneurship and specifically entrepreneurship through acquisition, which is another mode of market entry that, you know, we don't really focus too much on at centers, but we're going to change that right here at Florida Atlantic University. Besides that, we're getting excited for some upcoming events, so keep an eye out for that. We have our exchange coming up next week in Jupiter, as we expand to the Jupiter campus. And then we'll have something fun going on for Global Entrepreneurship Week on November 20th, in addition to like 50 other events. So just keep an eye out.
Event season right now, right?
Yeah,
my inbox is full right now with events. It's getting wild right now in South Florida. It's also a nice season, right?
Yeah.
It's nice and chilly, not like the summer where you walk outside and you can't breathe and you're soaking, your shirt gets soaked, of course, after being outside for a couple moments. If you want to catch all these amazing episodes, check our website, shrimptankpodcast.com. Kevin, why don't you introduce John? I know you guys go way back. You guys have had a lot of Zooms before together, and you're excited for today's guest, and share with him what this next segment is all about.
Yeah, that's kind of a joke. John Hill's our guest today from Whop, and he's a like-minded individual. I was a big fan of Techstars. He's kind of like an entrepreneurship guy. The students who know me know that I'm Florida Atlantic's resident entrepreneurship guy. I work with hundreds, now more than 1,000 startups across different industries. John's got some great experience, and I know he's got a great elevator pitch. So one of the things we try to teach our students to do is to develop and deliver a fantastic elevator pitch. And I'm put you on the spot and have you deliver yours right now, John.
Yeah, happy to do so. So first of all, thank you for having me here, Jason. This is
Absolutely
awesome. Kevin, good to see you in person. And Whop, we're a no-code platform that allows anybody to build a digital business. In essence, we're trying to democratize entrepreneurship, bring the barriers of entry down. So no cost, no code as part of the process, so you don't have to understand technology to utilize us. We currently have about 12.5 million users. We're sitting at 110,000 companies that are generating revenue on our platform, and they've done a combined 1.9 billion GMV, so product and service sold. We hit 1 billion GMV 3.5 years quicker than Shopify. We hit 10 million users a year quicker than LinkedIn. So we're doing all right. That's a pretty good elevator pitch.
Fantastic. Very exciting. And we're excited to learn more about it on the show. But for now, let's play a game.
Let's do it. We're going to have our show host come on down and tell us about what the show is all about. And then we, of course, have a Florida Atlantic University student, Franco, joining us as well.
How you guys doing? I'm Mateo. We're going to be playing a simple game of true and false. If you buzz, I'll call your name. If you get it right, you get a point. If not, I'm wrong. All right.
Okay, this is easy. 50-50 over here, Kevin. This is my style of game.
Jason and Kevin have a rivalry, so good luck.
Yeah.
All right, first question. Most small businesses in the U.S. are family-owned. True or false? John, go ahead.
That is true.
True, yeah, it is true. 90% of U.S. businesses are family-owned. Second question. The first company to reach a $1 trillion valuation was Microsoft. John?
That is false.
Correct, it's false. The first was Apple in 2018.
I forgot it was true or false. I was trying to think of which company it was.
I like this game. Keep this going.
Third question. Inflation always benefits consumers.
That's you, Franco.
Go ahead, Franco.
False.
False. Correct. Inflation usually reduces consumers' purchasing power, making goods and services more expensive. Fourth question. About half of the new U.S. businesses survive 5 years or more.
I got that one.
Go ahead, Kevin.
False.
It is true. The
Oh,
U.S.
God.
Bureau of Labor Statistics
Whoa.
reports 50%
Whoa.
of the new businesses last more than 5 years.
You should get -1 on that one.
Next question is
Watch this. True.
unfortunate.
That wasn't all
All
right.
right. Unfortunate. I'll ask the question though. Entrepreneurs don't pay taxes on their business income. Think Franco about that?
Good call, Franco.
Correct. Entrepreneurs pay self-employment taxes.
Franco, you are paying attention in those finance classes. Good job. Good job.
Next question. Elon Musk founded PayPal.
That is actually false, but your statement may say yes. But I actually know the makeup of the PayPal mafia.
It is false. You want to say it?
So Peter Thiel, Reid Hoffman, Andy Sack.
Mhm.
Am I close?
Yeah, you got it's Max Levchin,
Yeah,
Peter
Max,
Thiel,
yeah.
and Luke Nosik.
John gets
Nice.
bonus credits for the tiebreaker round if he needs it.
Next question, simple one. The word entrepreneur is originated in France.
That is true.
True. It means to undertake. 2 more questions.
Ooh, I think he's got it.
E-commerce transactions are exclusively between businesses to businesses.
False.
Correct. He's killing it.
I'll just
Last
keep my
question.
hands off because I think I've won.
The
You
first
have. You have.
the first Apple computer was built solely by Steve Jobs.
Go
Think
ahead.
Franco got that?
You got that. You got that.
Franco, go for it. Go for it.
False.
False. Yeah. I was gonna say
Who helped
false.
him?
Correct. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak created it.
Wozniak. So
Wozniak,
I
thank
actually
you.
spoke at Kickstart Ohio 4 days ago, and Steve Wozniak was the keynote speaker.
I get some bonus
So I
points.
shared the stage with him.
Andrew,
Which
who
is
won?
pretty awesome.
John,
Yeah,
congratulations.
yeah. We got it. We got it.
Okay, John, you're the first one to win all season. And being that you fly a lot, we are going to give you this shrimp pillow for your
God, that
for
is
your
awesome.
flights. There you
Actually,
go.
We'll use this.
You will get the shrimp. You are getting the
Franco,
famous
love
shrimp
Got
pillow.
some
A
points
lot of
on the
people have touched
board.
this, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we
so I
take
gotta
photos
wa-
at
I
the
gotta
end,
wash it
but you
first.
might, maybe we'll get you a new one on Amazon for $9.99. So you get a fresh one. Franco, great job on the show today. So let's jump into our next segment of the show. It's all about just learning from your past and really sharing your journey. So can you kind of just go backwards in time for a moment, just kind of like when you graduated college and give us the cliff notes, right? Give us a 3-minute story, how you got to where you are today.
Yep.
Along the way.
Yeah, actually could never have pictured the journey that I had. I've had a non-linear career path. I started as a journalist. I did a minor in history. My dad thought I was allergic to money. And I actually ended up following sports journalism as part of the process. Worked for a national sports magazine called Athlon Sports. We did preseason annuals for college pro football, college pro basketball, baseball, golf. I was the college basketball expert. I use that term loosely, but worked with sports writers all over the country. We had a circulation of about 1.3 million. And I did radio shows all over the country. I was 24 years old when I was doing it. And the CEO came into my office, and it was kind of like first lesson learned. One day he said, "John, you're the youngest person in the company. We need to start a website. Can you help us out?" The only technical acumen I had was I was young. I was a journalist.
It's not really that technical.
Yeah, well, building a website is a little bit more difficult, especially in the 90s. It was 97. But I jumped off the cliff and said, you know what, I'll do this. I took a risk. Ended up building the website. I hired a programmer as part of the process and built a interactive division as part of the sports publishing company that I was working with. Went from there to Michigan State University. In between, I worked at some media companies, but I was the internship developer for the university, so supporting 47,000 students with internship and experiential opportunities. Did some really cool things working with like the city of Detroit and city of Lansing to show where students could live, work, play. University caught wind of it. I was using alumni as part of the process, and I get called to the president's office one day, and they said, "Hey, and if you get called to the president's office, is it really good or really bad? There's no in between."
Yeah, that's about it.
And they said, "Tomorrow we're naming you the director of alumni career services." Timing is everything. This was 2008. The next year, the global recession hit. The automotive industry drove off the cliff. We had 260,000 alumni in the state of Michigan, either directly or indirectly tied to automotive. And overnight, they were giving our office, like I became the most famous person in the state because I could help them find jobs. they were calling our office saying, hey, if you don't help me out, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to have to leave the state. I'm going to lose my family. When you get into that kind of chaos, that's when the best innovation happens. And I think right now with AI, we're in that chaos, and innovation is going to come out of it invariably. But I leaned in and ended up developing programs for alumni in the state and then globally on how to develop an effective personal professional brand, how to navigate LinkedIn, how to navigate Job Search 2.0. And as part of that, LinkedIn reached out and said, hey, you're doing some pretty interesting things. Do you want to partner with us? So we ended up negotiating the first partnership between a university and LinkedIn.
Which, by the way, is amazing because LinkedIn reaches out to nobody.
True.
You know, they're bad at that. They're notorious for just ignoring everyone that uses their platform.
I did not ignore everybody when I worked there, but you know, I actually get called in before that partnership happened to their office. They asked me to fly out, and at that point, I think they had about 200 employees. 50 were in the room to listen to me talk about how to apply LinkedIn in higher education. Just to give you an idea of who was in that room. And I'm a huge believer in surrounding yourself with the people you want to be. There was a guy in a lab coat in the back end, and I thought that's weird in San Francisco, whatever. I'm from Lansing, Michigan. And that guy was DJ Patel. DJ Patel coined the term data scientist. He was President Obama's first chief data scientist. So like that was who I was talking to about how to utilize LinkedIn in higher ed. And these were the people who built LinkedIn. I was like meta. But through the application of that partnership, I got sucked through the looking glass and became the face of the university initiative for LinkedIn. So if you have a university on your profile, if you've ever used university pages on LinkedIn, if you've ever used the alumni tool, those were all the team I was on. We did that. We built that. In fact, the alumni tool was called John Hill in a Box. It was based on my talks that I used to give at universities, which is super cool.
Which is big with LinkedIn, right? Because whenever you know, I see all the people that I should connect with. I always feel more connected to my alumni, of course.
Yep. And obviously for all students, alumni and informational interviewing, reaching out to them to learn their story, one of the best ways to start to figure out how to navigate professional life after this. Because all alumni want to live vicariously through you because they're not you right now. They're not on campus right now. But did that for 3 years, spoke at 187 universities, 110 conferences in higher ed in 23 countries to drive adoption. I had a young family, and at some point you can't travel like that all the time. And I started getting recruited by this organization. It was super fascinating. They're like, we want you to build a university network, but for venture. That company was called Techstars. And Techstars and YC are the two biggest players in the early seed stage investment. So they invest in early companies. And when I got on the phone with them, they're like, we want to drive emotion through connection in venture, which was like novel, like that didn't exist. Usually what happened is if I gave you money as somebody who was a venture capitalist, expectation is you build a company, I make money off of that. Yeah. But there was no emotional connection to that.
Very transactional.
And Techstars leaned into this idea of give first. And so the idea was simple, like, and this is like FAU helping FAU. If I'm a student here and I reach out to another student, if you help me out, that student reaches out to another student, helps them out. That's creating a mesh network. That's what we were trying to do through emotion at Techstars. I ended up building the largest entrepreneurial network in the world, about 43,000 founders, mentors, investors, corporate runners, community leaders on and offline. Then I got to a point where I felt like venture was too heavy. There weren't enough people who could get involved in it. And so if you're going to take a company through YC or Techstars, you have to have access to capital. You have to have access to tech talent, and most people don't. We did a TAM, total addressable market, in 2019, and we believed that there were about 64,000 companies that were investable by Techstars, YC, 500, Plug and Play, all the big players out there. And there are 8 billion people on the planet. So how I ended up in my role now is because of that. I'm an ideologue. I take jobs not for money. I take jobs because I think they can change things. I've been able to scale things globally on multiple occasions. And when you do that, then you realize, wait, I can do this again. It becomes almost pattern matching. My favorite people in the world are entrepreneurs because they suspend disbelief and do something that nobody else in the world has done or do it better. And that's a gift. And they repeatedly jump off cliffs. And one thing I'll tell all of you, the more cliffs you jump off, the more the ground comes up. The more it becomes an easier thing to navigate. It stops feeling like you're jumping off cliffs. So take those risks, especially early.
Yeah.
I hope my wife's listening to this right now, because she thinks I'm always jumping off cliffs lately with my platform owl, of course.
Yeah. So let's talk about Whop. Let's talk about how our students, our university can leverage it. I mentioned earlier before the show, right, that I went ahead and got it set up because I saw the potential in the product, but I haven't done much in terms of promotion or really understanding it. So can you walk us through what it is, how it works, what type of things our students might think about doing? I know it's pretty diverse, but give us the rundown.
Yeah, I'm going to pull you in deeper, Kevin. So we'll get you fully on, and we'll get your students associated with it. So go back to Techstars, venture-backed, weighty. I was looking at opportunities to help more people build businesses. I haven't applied for a job in 25 years. All my jobs have come through network. Other people have opened up doors for me. Same thing happened here. I have a good friend who scaled a company called Drizzly. It was an alcohol delivery company. His name is Nick Rellis.
I remember that one.
Yeah, they got acquired by Uber for $1.2 billion. So he did pretty well on the back end. Yeah. So Nick is helping growth stage companies out. Like, he is always busy. And he and I knew him from the early days. In fact, he pitched his company to me when he was about a year and a half out of Boston College, telling me he wanted to do an alcohol delivery company. And I'm like, you're going to have to go up in front of liquor commissions. All those people are in their 50s and 60s. There's no way you are getting it approved to deliver alcohol to places like university campuses. Like, that's not going to happen. I was wrong. Obviously, he ended up scaling a $1 billion company, but we stayed in touch. And so he ran into the CEO of the company I'm at now, Stephen Schwartz at Whop. And Stephen was explaining the product. And at that time, there were about 3 million users, about 350 million GMVs of product and service sold on the platform. And Stephen said, listen, our average user is 18 to 25. Like, 80% of our people are 18 to 25. That dovetails with the universities, but we don't know how to talk to universities. Do you know anybody who could do that? And Nick's like, I got a guy, and picked up the phone and gave me a call. So I ended up having a conversation with Stephen. No expectation of leaving Techstars, like, great organization to work for. And Stephen said, we want to open up the door for everybody to make sustainable income via the internet. And I went, whoa. And then he started explaining the product, and I'm like, it's no code, well, now AI. So you don't really need to understand how to use technology, and it's free. Like, Whop makes money when people make money on the back end. And so I start digging into it and look at some of the companies, and a lot of them are at the early stages, info services or crypto or sports betting, things that I'm not interested in. Like, I appreciate that we do them on the platform, but I could see the long tail where anybody could develop a business. And to give you some examples of university related ones, we have 3 med students that built a company called Pre-Medly. They're teaching undergraduate students on how to get into med school. So they do a series of courses on how to take the MCAT, the differentiation between allopathic or osteopathic medicine, how to choose specialties, and then create a community around it. And they do it as a subscription-based experience. They're generating $120,000 a year while in school. We have a 19-year-old who built what he knew. He was a gamer. He built Fortnite maps. He's currently generating $10,000 a month building Fortnite maps and then showing other people how they can build gaming maps via things like Twitch. We have a traveling nurse who is aggregating traveling nurse opportunities. She's created a jobs board on our platform. She's doing a subscription base, and she's making $4,700 a month doing the work that she would already do for herself to source jobs as a traveling nurse. Like, those are examples of what's happening, and I can really go much deeper from a student perspective of what you could all do. I mean, some of you are international students, so you could talk about to people from your respective countries what it's like to be in school in the United States. Some of you are athletes, especially if you're a college athlete. You can teach people who are in high school right now on how to be athletic. If you like gaming, you can start to turn that into a community and monetize that community and engage in it. So, like, how we act is a series of apps to build a business. So a community app, a course app, a chat app, a jobs board app, a live stream app, things like that. piece those together the way you want. So like you can have a free community where you pull people in, and then it could be paid one-on-one time to meet with you as a consultant. And so like there are these experiences that you can now get your arms around to build a business for whatever's in your head. And knowledge is going to be power in the time of AI, especially curiosity and creativity. And we're certainly a platform to lean into that. And I've got some broader things I can talk about. But
is it all subscription based, like all the communities that we're speaking about?
No, but 60% of the communities on our platform are actually free. Okay. So, like if you have a big Instagram following, and we were built for like the creator economy, you could bring them into our platform and you have their email addresses. And so like now you have the ability to send out newsletters. Now you have the ability to, message them directly or cultivate the relationship long term. You can't do that off things like Instagram or TikTok.
Yeah. Well, especially not the way the algorithms have gone, where they kind of just show you what they want about 80% of the time. And then you see a friend here and there, and they're like, now look at this stuff that we monetize.
Yep. And we've done two very big things recently. We built the original apps, like 28, 30 apps that people use. In June, we opened up our developer sandbox. So anybody can build an app that helps people make money. We have over 600 apps now. And in August, we released our own payment processing. So we're going after Stripe and Square. We brought it down to 2.7%. So we're undercutting the standard rate at 3%. And we decoupled it from the platform, which means mom and pop shops can use bricks and mortar places. This university can use us for payment processing. And that's a big play. And so like all this stuff is happening at once. And by the way, we only have 55 employees. So this is kind of a rocket ship company, 100 million ARR. But like very lean in what we're doing. I think it's representative of what tech companies are going to look like in the future.
Yeah, that's astonishing. Those are that revenue per employee number must be
good place.
It's not bad.
If you're in the audience, you might want to apply for an internship there, right? In a future career if you're graduating.
Yeah.
No, but you bring up a lot of points because I set out to build a mobile app in 2020 when COVID hit, because I recognized that people are having trouble communicating as often, right? We all texting everybody, and it's extremely expensive, simple. And students in the audience want to build mobile apps, right? Want to build communities, but it's too complex, right? You have to, partner with PayPal, Stripe, potentially for the money processing. Then to build the community, it's very difficult on social media today. And then when you hire developers, I mean, it's just so hard. You don't know what you're doing early on. And then lots of times people go through places like Techstars or FE Tech Runway, and we put pitch decks together, and investors really don't care about pitch decks in the app world, right? They want to see a lot more traction. And
this big assumption too, or expectation that like software development is going to be this thing where, you bite the bullet, you pay the cost, and then it's developed, right? And it's just done. And they don't understand that like those costs never really go down.
No, they go up.
They just continually go up across time, especially if it's for something like that, right? Like if it's a one singular piece of software, which rarely exists, right? Like everything updates, changes, evolves. But even in those instances, like there's maintenance, there's reviews, there's security, there's all these different facets to software that people don't think about, in addition to upfront development cost.
Yeah. And the future is community. We're seeing that. So can you speak to that for a moment? Because that's my belief where we're going with all the transactional payments everywhere, online, all the micro influencers, larger influencers, and everything comes back to community. So speak to that for a second.
Yeah, I'm actually going to shift the question just a little bit, because I think it's not only community. I think the whole economic graph is shifting.
Sure.
So if you went back to 2003, that was when LinkedIn was invented.
Yeah.
And if you think about how seismic that was of a shift on opportunity, you now had a professional identity of record online that allowed you to get a job anywhere in the world. And prior to that, you had a paper resume or CV that you could get through university channels or political channels or geography, like where you were at.
Yeah.
And so it limited what the opportunity was. But now you had the whole world in front of you that you could connect into. LinkedIn didn't change. And although I was a spokesperson for the organization, I absolutely adore it. It stayed to that economic graph, but things are shifting, and they're shifting dramatically. And so if you look at how AI is impacting entry-level positions right now, and if you look at career placement for last year for universities, there was a downtick for the first time in like a decade. If you look at how the gig economy has changed the contract between the employer and the employee, if you look at how the creator economy proved out to be real, like people thought it was a flash in the pan, it's going nowhere. In fact, it's accelerating. And then if you look at the any of the trending data on Gen Z, on how they view their career pathing, they believe that they're going to have to build secondary or sustainable income as part of their profession. So you're going to have side hustles. In the US, there are 18.5 million students. 15% of them have digital side hustles right now. So they're selling on Marketplace or Etsy, or doing something on Twitch, or Roblox, or building sites, or whatever, right? Building tech companies. But 15% is the largest percentage that we've ever had from an entrepreneurial perspective. And so like you're already leaning into this. So I think the economic graph is shifting. And I think the shift is it's no longer about finding a job, it's about being a job.
Yeah.
And being a job means you have to be curious and have critical thinking skills, which universities still support, right? But you also have to have community to be able to position and sell those ideas. And so like I fully agree with you. I think community is the future, but I think it's like a broader play, not just community.
Yeah, and let me tack something onto that. I've really started noticing with the advent of AI and all the things that AI can be useful in sort of doing. If you take a step back and look at the broader picture, what I've seen is, and this is a little bit theoretical and digs into some entrepreneurship research, but I'll skip that stuff so nobody falls asleep. But entrepreneurship is really about finding an opportunity, right? Your professor taught you that in this class, right? Tess? Yeah, finding an opportunity. That's where it really starts. There's also some research and evidence that you can create an opportunity. But what I've seen is really difficult in terms of making successful companies, and I've worked with all the companies, is there also has to be a fit, right? If you find an opportunity, but it doesn't fit you in terms of like, well, that would cost too much, right? Like I would need a satellite in space to execute that, right? It may not be a fit with you currently in your career stage. So on successful entrepreneurship doesn't happen. There's no fit. So what's I've seen and witnessed, and I'm trying to get some data on, is that not only is it easier to identify opportunities for this generation for right now than it's ever been, leveraging AI and the associated tools, but matching people and entrepreneurial opportunities to the right ones that fit and can form a successful venture. That's happening at light speed now all the time, and is becoming more and more efficient. And that's what entrepreneurship takes. So I'm a big believer in that. I think we're going to see more people opportunity matching with these tools, and that means more successful entrepreneurship for sure.
Well, let's jump to our next segment of the show. We're going to have some of the Florida Atlantic University students come on down and ask you direct questions. So if you're in the audience, one by one, come up to the microphone and ask John a question. Okay.
Hi, John. So what I was thinking about when you said a lot of people have side hustles, and in the future that's going to become a lot more common, I was thinking of the term like solopreneur, right? I don't know if you guys have heard that, but that was just what I was thinking about. And could you talk a little bit more about how Whop could be involved in a lot of like the solopreneurs that we're probably going to see more of in the future?
Yeah, I love that question. I believe we'll have our first billionaire solopreneur at some point. Like I think you'll have a unicorn that's solo. But if you look at our platform, like it allows anybody to do the early stages of entrepreneurship. So it's how do you go from 0 to 1? How do you go from idea to implementation, right? And actually start to build something. And people get stuck after idea. And so we make it much easier because the barrier to entry is low. It doesn't cost anything. You don't really have to understand technology to build on our platform. And then we bring marketplace. So we have about 4 million people who are visiting our stores in a given week. So like that's like being at downtown Miami and people are coming into your storefronts, right? So like we're driving that traffic. And then because we are learning kind of best practices of how people are generating sales, we can give you information that makes you better at selling on our platform, which also is better at selling off our platform. So like I think Kevin is like 100% right. Like AI is bringing the speed to knowledge at such a level that it's making it easier to figure out how to build and scale your idea to generate revenue off of it, or if it doesn't, iterate to the next idea. And so like that's one of the beautiful things about our platform. The first idea doesn't work, do it again and again, or do 3 at once, or do 7, right? And so you can start to test out all these ideas to see what takes traction and then lean into that. So like the hardest phase is getting off the ground. We make that easy.
Yeah. So, and one of the parts of what I was saying that I didn't fully explain was that opportunity identification and the ease at which we can do that. You alluded to it right there, because sometimes you'll see a potential opportunity, right? And think maybe this would be a good idea. I do this all the time. I still venture. I still work with ventures. I still mess around with entrepreneurial ideas. You can test them so much faster. I can't tell you how many ideas I've tested. They were terrible ideas. But I can test them at light speed now and be like, oh, nobody wants this. Moving on, which is kind of, again, how you identify more positive opportunities with more potential.
And John, how quickly can you get operational to have your own community, have your own app, have your own website? Like, give us kind of
you can launch a company. I mean, I think conservatively in an hour. And so, you know, again, if you talk about speed, like think about back in the day when we were bricks and mortar entrepreneurs, right? Like that amount of time that it would take to go through all the processes to build out a business, you're talking like a year. And so like the movement to where we're at right now, where like you can leave this podcast and turn around and build something and have it built in an hour. That's not normal, but that is the reality right now.
Yeah. And then if it's terrible, you can turn around in the next hour and build something else.
Exactly.
That's the iterative piece, is being like, oh, this isn't good actually.
Yeah. And it's
like, that's fine. Just keep going. You'll find it.
Just in time, like experiential learning from an entrepreneurial lens. Like that's a lovely thing.
And then on the flip side, you do have a really popular community, let's say, and you have $100,000 coming in a month. What about the opposite? You said people come in the community and they can see other communities, but that could obviously work the opposite way. Like I have a podcast called Shrimp Tank. So it's Kevin, right? And now all of a sudden like, oh, there's another good entrepreneurship podcast. And they see the guests that they have on. So how does it work on the flip side where it could hurt you that some of your, you know, people in your community could leave your community because they see similar ones and potentially they're curious, I guess.
I mean, I think it comes down to like, how do you keep customers in general? And that's like of course offline and online. Yeah. And, you know, if you're good to people, if you give them insights and knowledge, or you give them product and service that they can't find anywhere else, they'll stay. And, you know, like that's business 101 is lean into the customers. If the customers are telling you otherwise, you're building the wrong thing or you're taking the wrong approach, supporting and helping them out. I think what we see at Whop is a community of people who are building on our platform, who are very communicative on us through social. So things like X, and they're saying, hey, this is working or this isn't working. And we can real time take that feedback and build new product line or take different approaches or communicate differently. And like, that's the lifeblood of any company, is how your customers are interacting with you.
Yeah, in my section of the same entrepreneurship class, I tell them during the first week that, hey, heads up, you should pay attention to this, but most of you won't. But the answer to 90, maybe 95% of the questions that I'm going to ask you during this class is just ask the customers, right? Like, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you figure out if this is better? It's always ask the customers. Customer-centric entrepreneurship is the way to go.
Okay.
Hey, John, I'm Tyler. So you mentioned that we're shifting to this be the job economy. So what specific skills and mindsets would you recommend for students like us to further shift into that mindset?
That's a great question. So I'm going to start with some of the learnings that I had at Techstars. So in the 10 years I was there, I helped 4,000 early seed stage tech companies, met with them one-on-one, gave them the skills and network to support and help them out. 460 of those companies exited. The largest exit was PillPack to Amazon to become their online pharmacy for $1 billion. We had 6 companies go public. Ring the bell in New York. We were investing in them when they were like 2 or 3 people. And so like I got to see that ride again and again and again. And I'm not a truth teller. Like I can't tell you this is exactly the skills that you need. But the 4 things that kind of bubbled up to the top for the success of those companies, one was resilience. They got a lot thrown at them. They could have died multiple times and they kept going. And I think that's, if you're building a Whop or you're building a tech-based company, it's the same thing. You just have to keep pushing. And the second is adaptability. If you're in like a mentor-driven environment, which like Kevin is driving through entrepreneurship support here,
Yep.
You're going to hear mentors say yes and no to the same thing. And you've got to figure out how to take those inputs and make decisions going. So you have to be adaptable through the process, or I'm building the wrong thing and shift to what the right thing is based on inputs that you're receiving. So you have to be adaptable. You can't be rigid. Third, you have to be curious. And I think curious goes into the land of AI as well. And then fourth, you have to be competitive. You got to believe you're the best to bring it to market. If I apply that to like what you would need as a student to come out of here, those are things that you can do right now, right? And I would layer in critical thinking skills and connection into community. And your community right now is FAU. It's FAU helping FAU. So I'm a big believer in building your network before you need it, so it's there when you do. Yeah. All of you should start building your network with your alumni right now and do informational interviewing. Don't ask them for anything. Just ask them for their stories. Collect those stories. You have access to those people later.
Okay, sweet. Thank you.
Tyler, can I put you on the spot?
Yeah, go for it.
Let's do a live business right now on the spot. Cool. I'm going to ask you, do you have a business right now operating?
I'm in the American Marketing Association Club. So
okay. If I'm sure we're all entrepreneurial in this room, it sounds like, right? If you were thinking about a business to create, what would it be right now? If you had unlimited funds, what you say?
I would make websites for people.
You could make websites. John, he goes on to Whop. How does he do this?
So you can literally just make Whops for people right now, which would be their businesses. We have unique URLs. Yeah. So we're essentially development, and you can customize those URLs of websites. Okay. So if you learn our platform on how to showcase product and service, we now do e-commerce, right? Like go all the way down. You can help small businesses build on our platform. And we utilize AI as part of it, right? We're not fully embedded into AI, but we will be at some point. If you start building websites for people on our platform, you could do it right now. If you started doing that, you're leaning into what I think is the biggest opportunity right now, which is not the application of AI, it's the education of AI. You would be educating people on how to build on products like ours.
So real quick, is he bringing them into Whop, or he's almost controlling their websites on Whop?
He can build their websites, their presence on Whop.
Yeah.
And make money off
so
it.
He has just a vision.
Yep.
Like he literally goes in within hours. He has the services, what he provides, and he can start emailing people from a Gmail account.
Oh, he doesn't even have to do that, because I'll tell you what I'd like to develop, right? Just so I understand the platform better and I can share it with students a little bit easier. I want to have my own store on Whop, and I'll hire you to build it as soon as you get set up.
So he just said launch a business. He just gave
I'll be your first
client.
Customer.
He's your first client.
You just made your first client right here.
Let's do it.
I'll give you another example of what you could do. So if you're working with the marketing association, you could do the community around the marketing association. You could do all the content that you're doing. You can do all your meetings on our platform. We have a scheduling app. You could do dues, and people pay dues in the app, and we do the payment solutions on the back end. It's like all inclusive. If you created that model, you could then position that against all the other student groups on campus, or the athletic groups on campus, or fraternities and sororities, and you could start to create a business out of that. And nobody's doing it at FAU right now.
Right. How would doing that through Whop be different than just collecting dues?
So you could charge people, or you also would be creating an affiliate link for that. So you brought them in, and then you get a percentage of whatever they're generating on payment processing as part of it.
Sick. Awesome.
So.
And to build websites, like most people go and hire WP Engine and buy 10 sites for like $1,200-$1,300. I do that,
Yeah.
and it's expensive. And then you need the GoDaddy URLs. Then you need to change the email through Gmail. So before you know it, when you go out to build websites, because I have a lot of friends that do that, it's quite expensive. And pretty much what he's saying is like, you could create these websites literally later today and have a business operating that you could do for other businesses like Kevin. And then afterwards, Kevin will be like, okay, you did it for me. I'll hook you up. Here's $500. But then Kevin can introduce you to another 500 people who need websites.
That's the thing I liked about the platform initially, right? During COVID, I had a startup too. There was nothing else to do. So we built this online pitch platform. So, all those pitch competitions universities do, you're very familiar. They all got canceled. My buddy and I thought that was kind of sad. And students weren't going to get their funding. So we built an online platform where we could host pitches and deploy funds. And when we started, that was our idea. Website, super cheap. He could build it. Let's go. And it starts out, I think it was like $12 a month. And then it was like, well, we needed some extra features though. And we were doing point and click, no code-ish, using Bubble. And it's like, oh, we also need to tie in this app. And we got to add this payment thing. And I'm saying, $70 a month. And then the website worked, but then it was pretty popular during a live competition. So it crashed when we hosted our first one. It crashed completely. I said, you can't run that much traffic without more cloud storage. So you got to add that. Next thing you know, 6 months in, that thing's $480 a month. So we really needed customers all of a sudden. And I was like, hey, we were doing this for fun to make some side money, get some students paid. And then it's like, this thing's kind of annoying. And that's, Whop doesn't have that, right? Like you can continue building and building and building without then, ramping up those costs. And those are ongoing costs. We didn't have a customer every single month because university competitions are certain times a year. So it just became frustrating, and I see entrepreneurs still deal with that today.
So you're my first customer on Whop.
Yeah, but here's the catch. I'm going to do revenue share instead of flat rate. But I'm going to give you 20%, 20% of everything.
Do you take that deal?
Deal.
All right.
No,
Done.
you negotiate.
You should have said 15%.
No, I just want to hit the button.
Exit out. You can hit the button. You can, no, I don't approve that deal.
All right, I look forward to that tomorrow.
Yeah, let's do it.
So my email is jh@whop.com. That's to everybody. I don't care who has it. Shoot me a note with the Whop that you built. I'll promote it.
Okay.
Awesome.
Oh, wow.
Let's go.
Kevin likes that 20% now.
Look at this. It's a good deal.
Okay, we have another student question, but I want to touch also on payment processing is a pain in the butt to figure out on your own, right? Like I've spent so much time behind a computer screen with my developers with the Owl app and determining how to deal with payment processing and the fees with Stripe and coding it. And what you handed over to folks with just how easy it is to collect dues, no one realized that's so hard to deal with. And then the taxes at the end of the year, those things that lots of times with business you don't think about, but that you've saved them hours and hours of thinking. And of course,
you've always suspected that students, the right students, would appreciate the value that Owl provides. And I think you might think about having an Owl store on Whop. I know someone who could build it. You pay referral fees, right? And it could funnel them onto the app once they get familiar with it. Of
course, we complement
something to think about.
We complement one another. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I kind of have a two-part question. So the first part was kind of piggyback off of what he was saying. So you already undercut yourself as a payment processor. So you guys were 2.75, right?
2.7.
2.7. But then on top of that, another sliver of that goes to the people who actually make the Whops, right? If it was
So let me make this crystal clear. So say you sold $100 on our platform. It costs you nothing to get to the point of that sale. On that $100, we take a 3% fee. That's our fee for developing the marketplace, developing the platform. And we used to do other payment processors at 3%. We're now doing that at 2.7%. So for every $100, we're taking $5.70, right? Okay. Theoretically, that's the. But if you were to look at traditional margins for a business, that is off the charts.
Off the charts.
Good.
Yeah.
So we were happy to press 30% margins on some of the bricks and mortar companies that I've worked with in the past. So the game has changed a lot for you and what has the cost of developing a business has lowered to the point where it doesn't make sense to not try something.
Yeah. And then that was the first part. My second part is as someone who sees all of the different platforms coming onto Whop, right? You can kind of see a lot more than the typical person for what's working, what's not working, and kind of taking a step back from that. What majors, what industries, what kind of hard skills do you think people should develop to kind of future-proof themselves?
Yeah. So entrepreneurial mindset is number one to me. And understanding of AI is number two, or I would say understanding AI is number one. Entrepreneurial mindset is number two. I think those two are put you ahead of 99% of the people right now. And then I think beyond that, communication skills, all the soft skills still apply. The ability to develop and cultivate community is still important. And I would say community and customers in my mind are synonymous. And I think having some ability to take mitigated risks is super important in this day and age specifically, because everything you're doing is a little bit of risk. If you like get out there and try to vibe code something right now, that's a risk, right? But it's a risk that has very little downfall on the back end of it. So just do it, right? But I think we've come to the point where you have to be proactive. You can't be reactive to the experiences that are happening, or you're going to get left further and further behind.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. Thank you.
Can you speak to that for a second? Because there's a big disconnect happening. Whenever I go to an in-person networking event, same with Kevin, there's no one in the room that's 18 to 30 anymore.
Yeah.
Right. So you're talking a lot about community and your network is your net worth. But in reality, like we don't see it happening in the real world. Right. Like it's happening behind computer screens, it's happening through DMs on Instagram.
Yeah.
Or TikTok. Right. So like if you were to advise them, like, you know, if you were in their shoes, right, what would you actually really be doing?
Yeah.
To kind of strengthen.
I got an answer for this one too.
Why don't you fire away first? I'll do second.
So I work with a lot of students, obviously. John has too, of course. But I think it's really kind of stitching in something to make sure they're building a really diverse network, right? Like that's where you get a ton of the value. Like John was in a phenomenal position at LinkedIn for sure, but really at Techstars, because that's kind of a similar role that I fulfill. So I got these young founders on one side. I have these expert mentors who most of which are retired or semi-retired of all sorts of different ages. Then there's the whole investor profile, right? These are ultra high net worth people who invest in these crazy startups. So it results in a pretty diverse network. And when I see from the student side, it's like if you network kind of only with students, you are all diverse, especially here at Florida Atlantic University on some facets, right? Like, but on others, you're not, right? You're all in college. You all have kind of similar experience. You're all kind of similar ages. And I think it's harder to realize significant value. I think maintaining and building that network is really important, but then also diversifying it and figuring out a way to do that. Maybe it is some of those live events that Jason's talking about. Maybe some of the events that the Runway and the Adams Center host, because those have all those folks that I mentioned. So that's kind of what I'd say. Self-promotion.
Yeah. So there's a great book that Reid Hoffman wrote called The Startup of You. And he was trying to showcase the most important relationships that you have that open up the door to opportunity, really like how to build quality networks, which is super important. But what he found, which was fascinating, is 85% of job opportunities for relational networking come out of not who you know, a first level connection, but who they know, a connection of a connection, second level connection. I would surmise as an entrepreneur, your investment opportunities, your talent opportunities, your customer opportunities is not about who you know that's important. It's about who they know that's important.
That's a great point.
For all of you building this network, focus on friends and family, university affiliations. Like there are 25 students, 30 students sitting in front of us right now. You should all know each other, support and help each other out with whatever you're doing, right? Know your faculty, know the staff that are supporting and helping you out, like lean in to go in and work with them. The third is shared work experience. The longer you work, the more you can tap into that network. I'll give you an example. I held a event in San Francisco for startups about 4 years ago. And one of the speakers we had come in was Christian Sutherland Wong, who I worked with at LinkedIn, who is now the CEO of Glassdoor. he wouldn't have come likely if I didn't know him, but because I did know him, he came, right? Fourth is anything you do to support yourself professionally. So these are events that you do, associations, student groups, things like that.
Sure.
So like there is a structure to do this. One of the things that is always interesting to me, I've worked with just an amazing amount of startups. They all build strategies around go-to-market or product development, but very few build strategies around relationships, which I would argue are the most important things to build your businesses, right? And super fortunate with Whop that we're community driven. And if you look at our cap table, it's like the founder of Discord, and it's the founder of Twitch, the founder of YouTube, these people who built these large scale communities, right? We come from that DNA of kind of community first around the build a business. And, so like, I think it's still important. I think like it's harder and harder with technology to break away and do this, but I would implore all of you to do this as much as possible.
You bring up some amazing points. And I'm gonna ask a student in the audience who wants to build a shrimp tank community on Whop.
There we go.
Right, because think about this. Me and Kevin have been doing this since 2018, and we always talk about he's too busy, I'm too busy, but like we could host this community right on Whop. And think about all these opportunities that are being left behind because we interview amazing entrepreneurs all the time. And it could be the CEO of Celsius, and someone could be in this room, but he could be in this community on Whop. And there could be sub communities, of course, our past guests, but also just giving back to the local ecosystem, right? And your technology enables somebody in the audience literally to build that community because people like Kevin, like myself, we're always like, we should do this tomorrow. And we get overwhelmed. We're doing too many things at once, and relationships matter, right? I built, Owl based on that premises, a whole startup, and it literally is designed to just communicate and build meaningful relationships, and over time they'll blossom, of course. So I 100% agree with you. You never know when, when you need that relationship to make that one phone call when you're on life support in a business, literally. And you mentioned that earlier in the episode, how many companies were on the brink of collapse, but probably made that one phone call. And I'll always relate it back to Celsius, right? The name on this building, DeSantis, right? He wrote a check, $20-30 million, I believe, if you go online and search for it. This was out of business. They delisted it from the exchanges. And eventually that one relationship is why this business is operating today, right? And that just goes back to that original journey. And Celsius is a sponsor of the show. Same reason. It's, because of relationships. It wasn't because they wanted the views, right? Like, let's be honest, right?
Yep.
They see what we're up to, and the current CEO really cares about relationships as well. So
cool. Yeah, I'm a huge fan that relationships matter. Also a huge fan of following your dreams.
Sure.
And I think that's been under attack over the last 5 years or so. And I've seen like prominent people talking about it, like don't follow your passion, don't follow your dreams. Following your passion and dreams into not having a job, it's not the right way to go.
Of course.
But I'm a living, breathing example of a non-linear career path that allowed me to jump from thing to thing through other people because I followed my dreams. And I'm definitely not the smartest person in any room I walk into. But I surround myself with those people who are, and I learn from them, and I adapt to what they're doing to apply to what I'm going to do. Like I go back to my titles. I'm the VP of Story. I was the network catalyst. I was the higher education evangelist.
These are all made up jobs.
They don't exist. And I didn't pick those for myself. They picked them for me.
It's funny.
How you get into those roles is by doing things differently than other people. And I'm also a big fan of choosing your hard. And it's, like you can all leave this podcast, this class after this and not do anything. You will get nothing on return on that, right? And that will be hard. Or you can start leaning into something like our platform, building something and see what happens. Also not easy, but you're choosing which hard to go directionally. Use that as a compass for yourself. Which hard do you want to choose? You want to skip class? You want to go into class and glean a little bit more knowledge that'll help you on the next step? Things like that. Do I want to pick up the phone and give an alum a call and do an informational interview? Or do I want to just skip out on that and save myself the time? All right. Keep choosing your hards.
I think that's a good place to end it because John doesn't know it, but he's got a jam schedule the rest of the day.
Okay. Well, John, thanks for joining us here on the Shrimp Tank. Everybody tuning in. We'll be back next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Take care.